Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for February 28th, 2019. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Ashley?
Chair. Here.
Mr. Judge?
Here.
Mr. McGivney?
Here.
Ms. Frank?
Here.
Mr. Sprague? Mr. Hall?
Here.
Ms. Oviatt? Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Simon?
Here.
Okay, our first item on the agenda is commission member announcement or reports. So seeing none of the above. Well, actually, we do have
I
one.
would like to make an announcement. I think since this is our newest commissioners members' first meeting, maybe like tell them thank you and welcome to the commission. Look forward to having a good board with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words.
Moving on to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes from the February 2019 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for February 14th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None? No abstentions. Next on the item, or on the agenda, is the case is withdrawn or request for continuance. Mr. Murphy?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 items this evening that are on either being recommended for continuance or withdrawn. The first is case number 2. This is CUP 45, map number 10219. Our applicant is Verizon, care of SAC Wireless. The staff recommendation is to continue that project until March 14th, 2019. The next is case number 5. This is GPA 9, map 152, and a whole bunch of other discretionary requests that will be before your commission. This is the Eland 1 solar project. The staff recommendation is to continue that project until March 14th, 2019 as well. And the final item is case number 6. This is GPA 11, map 254, zone change 9, map 254. Our applicant is Curtis Martin by Nelm Surveying. The staff recommendation is to refer that project back to staff. That completes the item D, cases withdrawn or request for continuance.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
I would make a motion to continue items 2 and 5 to our March 14th meeting and refer item number 6 back to staff as read into the record by Mr. Murphy.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
So the next item on the agenda is our consent items. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. These are items scheduled before your commission, which are being recommended for approval by staff, and the applicant has been informed of any special condition and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audience wishes to comment or ask any questions on the case. I would note that there are 4 items this evening. Staff is recommending that case number 4 be pulled and a staff presentation be done to explain some of the concerns that have been raised regarding that project. And the remaining 3 items, staff is recommending stay on consent. The first is conditional use permit number 2, map 76, conditional use permit number 3, map 77. The applicant is Button Willow Road Circuit, LP. This project is located at 24551 Laredo Highway, approximately 8 miles northwest of the community of Button Willow. The specific action before your commission this evening are modifications to conditional use permit number 2, map 76, and conditional use permit number 3, map number 77, which provided land use approval for a racing facility in an A district. Specifically, the requests before your commission are modifications to mitigation measures number 8 and number 40, and conditions of approval number 48 and 80 of conditional use permit number 2, map 76, and conditional use permit number 3, map number 77. The purpose of these changes are to address giant kangaroo rat habitat. I would note that your commission did receive a addendum staff report for this particular item. Subsequent to distribution of the staff report, it was determined that there was a inadvertent typographical error in which staff needed to provide your commission revised draft resolutions and a revised mitigation measure monitoring program to make sure that these specific conditions being recommended by staff are included in the record and presented to your commission. I would note that those changes have been shown on pages 2 and 3 of your staff report and underline and strike through, and that all of the attached draft resolutions and conditions are the measures in their final form. Staff does believe that with these changes, impacts to the giant kangaroo habitat would be reduced, and is comfortable that your commission can move forward on this particular project. So therefore, the staff recommendation, we do have a revised recommendation, would be to adopt the mitigated negative declaration, adopt the revised mitigation measure monitoring program, approve modification of conditional use permit number 2, map 76, and conditional use permit number 3, map 77, subject to the original conditions of approval with the revised conditions as recommended by staff, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached revised draft resolution. The next item on consent, this is case number 3. This is conditional use permit number 12, map number 77. Our applicant is Ernestina Hernandez. This project is located at 26307 Merced Avenue in the Wasco area. This request is a CUP to allow for a wedding and events venue in an A district. I would note that your commission also received an addendum staff report this evening. The purpose of that addendum staff report is to provide specific clarifications regarding necessary conditions of approval and improvements required for roadway and ingress and egress as requested by the Kern County Public Works Department. Specifically, the Public Works is requesting that one drive approach at the parking area be included for ingress and egress, and they want that separate from the existing residents on site. And then they also are requesting that the 2 paved private drive approaches include 2 entrances located at the single-family residence. I would note that the applicant has been aware of these changes and is comfortable with these conditions as presented. And again, staff is recommending this case stay on the consent calendar. The recommendation would be to approve conditional use permit for a period of 3 years that would cease operations in March 2022 in accordance with the revised recommended conditions, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached revised draft resolution. The final item on consent this evening now is case number 7. This is conditional use permit number 21, map 156. Our applicant is T-Mobile West by Synergy Development Services. This project is located at 26857 Henry Road in the Fellows area. The request is a modification of CUP number 21, map 156, which allowed a 135-foot tall monopole communication tower and associated equipment shelter. Specifically, the request is requesting a modification to the design of the approved monopole to allow a 135-foot tall lattice communication tower with the associated equipment shelter in an M2 district. The staff recommendation is to approve modification of conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
I'd make a motion to pull item number 4 from the consent agenda to be heard in its regular order, and then approve item number 1, 3, and 7 as read into the record by Mr. Murphy with additional addendums attached and for approval.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Judge, through the chair. I believe it's appropriate if you ask if there's anybody from the audience that would like to pull an item on consent before your commission take action on the case.
That being said, I would like to ask if anyone in the public has need or desire to pull any of these cases from the consent agenda. Any member of the commission? Hearing or seeing none?
I'll second Commissioner Judge's motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Mr. Murphy, would you like to read our notice of right to appeal on these?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would. For projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $540 on forms available at the Planning and Natural Resources Department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing, and this evening that applied to cases 1, 3, and 7.
Thank you very much. Next item is public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission for things not on the agenda and over which we have jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes, and if you have anything, please state your name and address for the record before making a presentation. Have any public presentations? Seeing none, we'll move over to the item G, which is public hearings. The first case to be heard is item number 2. Mr. Murphy, I'll let you, if you don't mind, go through that description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's actually item number 4.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's right. This is the item that was pulled off the consent
Yes,
calendar.
yes.
And then, again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this request is a conditional use permit that will allow for the retention of a cargo container located at 27285 Santa Fe Avenue in the Johannesburg area. The project site is designated map code 5.3 by the Johannesburg Rural Community Plan and is zoned R1MH. The site is currently developed with an existing residence, an accessory structure, and the unpermitted cargo container. On page 2 of your staff report, this outlines the project history for this particular project site and request before you this evening. In December of 2013, the applicant was cited by code compliance for the installation of a cargo container without appropriate land use authority. To address that concern, well, in addition to that, it was identified that the identified cargo container was located within a existing public right-of-way. To address that concern, in April of 2015, the Kern County Board of Supervisors considered a request submitted by the project applicant to vacate the roadway in which the cargo container was located. That request was approved by the Kern County Board of Supervisors and included 2 conditions. The first condition is that a 20-foot wide private access easement be recorded to ensure that appropriate parcels have and retain their access. That item has been met by the project applicant. The second condition is that the cargo container located at this site obtain the appropriate land use approvals. Again, condition 1 has been satisfied. Condition 2 is the reason we are here today. Staff has notified all public agencies and any properties within 1,000 feet of this project site, 500 feet of this project site, and we did receive 2 comment letters and 2 additional emails. The emails that we received were from a Mr. Jim Heffel, who is a property owner within the area and expressed some concerns about the retention of the cargo container. We also received an email today, which is included in an addendum staff report from Mr. Heffel as well, expressing some concern that he believes that the cargo container should not be allowed to be retained on site, given it is located on a separate parcel from the existing mobile home that is on site. And that is the reason I wanted to pull this item off consent so that I could explain to your commission why we do believe that it is appropriate to have that cargo container as an accessory structure at this time. This enclosed map, or this attached map, shows the project site in question. All of these lots were created in 1897, so they have been around for a long, long time. The property has 1 assessor's parcel number. As pointed out by Mr. Heffel, it is not uncommon for multiple properties to have 1 assessor's parcel for tax purposes. You know, a number of people may own 2 properties next to each other. For tax purposes, they only have 1 APN. The existing mobile home that is located on the site right here, I would note, is built across the various lots. So it is not contained wholly within 1 lot, but it crosses 2 lots. In your staff report and the addendum staff report I provided to your commission this evening, there is a provision in our zoning ordinance that for purposes of zoning and development standards, if a particular structure is built across multiple property lines and they are all adjacent, owned by the same property owner, again, for purposes of zoning and for purposes of development standards, we consider those parcels merged. In this particular case, given the fact that we have an existing mobile home that crosses the property lines, staff believes, and it is our determination, that the mobile home, that the proposed cargo container does classify as being accessory to the existing residential structure, which is the primary development on the project site. Therefore, we do believe that the request before your commission can be processed and is completely within the jurisdiction and in compliance with our zoning ordinance. Again, the purpose of me pulling this was I wanted to explain that to your commission. Our recommendation does not change. Staff does believe that this project site and that the use of this cargo container is accessory and appropriate as an accessory dwelling to the existing residential structure that's located on site. We have appropriately conditioned this mobile home or this cargo container so that it will have to obtain the appropriate building permits and will have to be painted in the appropriate color, earthen hue, so that it fits in with the community as required by the development standards in our zoning ordinance. And therefore, we do believe that it is consistent with all provisions of the general plan and the zoning ordinance and our recommended approval of the project. The department recommendation is to approve conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. That completes the presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Is the applicant here for this particular project? Would you like to speak on behalf of your project?
Thank you, Chairman Ashley, members of the commission. Nice to see you. Russell Johnson, Common Sense Consulting, on behalf of Donna and Gary Gallagher. I helped them with their road vacation a number of years ago, and I'm here helping them pro bono as a result of the comments by Mr. Heffel. So first, let's address staff's comments. The property owners are in agreement with staff's conditions. They agree with the addendum staff report and all the conditions of approval subscribed. I want to hand out to you a letter from Mr. Heffel, who is their neighbor who's been making comments in this. This letter was mailed on 2/5/19. I'll give this to the clerk. I think it's important to point out why we're here. This road vacation was started because of a neighbor dispute. The neighbors in the desert in this town did not get along, and there was a little bit of a fight. And at the vacation hearing, Ms. Gallagher got up and said, I just want to live in peace. I just want this to go away. That's what the road vacation was all about. The conditional use permit getting us here to this point is, these are good folks eking out a living in the desert, just trying to live in peace. And we're here at this point now just trying to satisfy all the conditions of approval. I just want to point out to you, when you read Mr. Heffel's comments, it's clear that he is intent on continuing the neighbor dispute instead of trying to let it lie and let it die. These folks just want to live in peace, and I think approving the conditional use permit tonight is part of them going on with their lives and living in peace. So I think the comments he makes in his letter stand for himself. He's just trying to perpetuate a little bit of a conflict between neighbors when it needs to end. Donna, did you want to say something?
You have to excuse me, I'm kind of nervous.
Thank you, ma'am. Would you, not to make you any more nervous, but would you mind stating your name and spelling
Okay, my
your
name's
last name
Donna
for the
Gallagher.
record? Thank you.
Okay, is that okay so far? I'm nervous. I'd like to say thank you for listening to Russell Johnson. Thank you for reviewing our case. I really don't have much to say except it has been a very stressful situation. I'm nervous, and I'm retired, and I'm trying very hard to do all the right things. And I would hope that you all approve everything that we asked for, the CU permit and everything, so everything will be legal, and so we can live in peace. And I thank you very much, and I apologize for being nervous.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher.
So with that, that ends our presentation, and thank you. We look forward to resolution this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else who would like to make comments on this particular project? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. Any members of the commission who would like to make comments?
I would like to say that we appreciate you coming out. We're here to, as a commission, to be able to hear people in the community that are going through situations like this. And our goal here is not to get ourselves caught up in neighborly disputes, but to do what is right by Kern County and our planning ordinances and what we are able to do as a commission. And reading the concerns here by this Mr. Jim Hempel, I am understanding from what Mr. Murphy has presented to us right now that the concern he brings up about the container being on a vacant land has been addressed since the mobile home and the container are sitting on common ownership property, which allows them to make the modification to allow this to be approved in our ordinance. And if my personal thought is, I believe that since they have made the right decisions to process this correctly, I feel we should move forward and improve this project.
Any other commission member comments, questions?
What's the story behind the fence? Is that not allowed out there? I'm just curious what's going on with that.
Mr. Johnson, would you come back up and explain?
Sure. The fence is actually was addressed during the road vacation. So what looks like a road is not really a road. If you were to go out there and walk, it's a hill like this. It's not truly paved. This is all dirt. And the Board of Supervisors examine that when they look at the road vacation, and they looked at the fact that the trees and the fence were there, and they approved the road vacation. So the fence lies within the area that would have been the road right-of-way that was vacated by the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. If there are no more questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve item number 4 is read into the record by staff.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
I'm sorry, Chairman Ashley, this is Ms. Simon.
Oh, sorry.
I do believe there may be someone that came in late that would like to speak, and I don't know what the procedure is for that. They raised their hand during the motions, and I think we missed it.
It is up to your commission. You have not taken action. If you want to reopen the public testimony and allow additional comments, you are more than welcome to do that.
Okay, I think we'd be willing to reopen to hear the comments. Please step forward and state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Cobos. This is my husband, Oscar Quintana. And we reside in, our main concern is Fremont Valley. Where this project is going to be laid out is going to be in front of our yard, our driveway. You know, we have our home here, and right across the street, the panels are going to be built, and that is our concern. And we wrote some things here that we...
I think it's a different project she's speaking of.
Yeah, I think we may be talking about a different project.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, this is supposed to be 7 o'clock?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, she is referring to item number 5 on this evening, which was continued by your commission until March 14th. Again, with that being said, the commission is open. If you would like to finish your actions on the case before you, you are always welcome to open any other items while this item was continued. That is a long drive, and so if your commission would like to, you are welcome to take her comments. However, I just want to make sure that they understand that this commission is not taking any action specifically on that project tonight because it is going to be considered on March 14th. However, with their approval, they can still allow you to provide your comments.
Okay, well, we got the letter indicating that it was going to be tonight at 7 o'clock, and that's why we're here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
This issue is going to be discussed.
Sure,
so-
and for other reasons, which Mr. Murphy explained earlier, this case will actually be continued to March 14th.
Okay,
I think
okay. So we will be notified for the later date.
I don't know if that's the case. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. We won't have any more notifications. However, the case has been continued until March 14th. After this meeting, if you come talk to me, I will get your contact information, just so that if for some reason it is not heard on March 14th, we will be able to contact you. But no, the action of the commission previously scheduled this item for consideration in 2 weeks. So just after the meeting, if you want to come talk to me, I'd be happy to make sure I have all of your contact information, and we can notify you specifically.
But we like
Okay.
what you
We
confirm
do.
to the board.
Well, no, they're not having that meeting after all.
But he
It's
said
gonna
he
be.
might not.
I think we should vote on item
I
and then
know.
come back after.
Yes, let us finish the business that we had going previously, and then we'll,
Let me get his address and phone number.
so if you don't mind, just take a seat, and what we'll do is we'll come back to your case in just a minute. So we were on item number
4.
4, and we have a motion and a second, and we're about to cast our votes for that particular project. So let's follow up with that.
Okay. 4 ayes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All right, Mr. Ashley, or Chairman Ashley, for project for the Planning Commission action is final. Those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person, and no development proposed by any application may be authorized until the final date of appeal. An appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with the filing fee of $540 on forms available at the department. The filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. So that concludes this evening's Planning Commission meeting, and I would certainly entertain a motion for adjournment.
Before we adjourn, I would say maybe we allow, since they've traveled here, allow them to have public comment on their item number 5, and if we open public comment for them, would that be okay, Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Murphy? Okay, so we'll do that. Ma'am, would you like to come back up and give us some comments on your particular project? Save you a drive in a couple of weeks. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Patricia Cobos, Patricia and this is my husband, Oscar Quintana. It's OSCARQUINTAN. And anyways, we received a letter around February
24,
the 4th concerning our section, our site. And we wrote these concerns, and I'd like to read them to you.
Sure.
Okay? Our concerns are, how will this affect us? We bought this property when it was an agricultural area, and today it is being changed to an electrical power industrial area. These are our concerns. Kern County Planning and Natural Resource Department, if one of these issues occur, do we need to talk now or when it happens? How will this affect us and our families? Experts have said that living close and surrounded by high voltage is not healthy and causes cancer. The loss of our view, scenery, of our future, of our town and city. I will be, or we will be, living surrounded, enclosed with metal, high voltage of electrical cables. Our property will lose its value. Our environment will be affected with the glares. The natural agricultural area is being destroyed. The wildlife, beautification, and tranquility of the desert will disappear. And that's how we feel. We recognize that we lived here before the electrical. We recognize that we lived here before the electrical producers got here. Okay?
for you to consider that.
And anyways, this is what we want you to consider. Because the way the site is being built, by the producers of this electrical, whatever it is that they're doing, is going to enclose us. We will be looking at these panels, and how is it going to affect us? In Northern California, we've been seeing a lot of studies that are coming out. I've been hearing a lot of documentation or documentaries where people are talking about how it's affecting them with the power systems that have been developed. And that's our concern. How is it going to affect us? And not only us, but we also have children and grandchildren. And we're hoping to pass this property over to them.
It's okay, Penny.
And that's our concern. Okay,
For you guys to consider.
Thank you very much for your comments.
thank you.
I would strongly consider you, or advise you rather, to speak with Mr. Murphy about this particular project. He's fantastic about making sure you get
Okay.
your questions and concerns answered.
Thank you.
I had a question for you.
Yes.
Do you know how much, you're talking about the value of your property, do you have any idea how much it would be devalued potentially if this project took place?
Well, we had been offered in the past different
Yes, well,
amounts.
145.
And today they've offered him, made offers. First it was $95K, then $145. And so, we thought, okay, but we wish to pass it on to our children.
But
It's some-
you just talked about a devaluation of your property value. I just wondered if you had any numbers there for consideration on what that would be.
Well, that's what was quoted to us several times.
What was?
95,000 plus 145,000. Just recently, that was recently.
So it's worth 50,000 less, is that what you're saying?
More,
Your property's worth more
140.
now?
yes.
145 was offered.
There was an offer for 145,000.
So if the project goes through, is it worth more or less than it was?
I think it would be worth less.
But do we know how much less?
We
Have you
don't
been
know.
told? Okay.
We don't know.
Because you just said it was going to be worth less. I just
Yeah.
want to know if you had any
Yeah.
thoughts about
I
that.
said was because a couple of years ago, they offered us 95,000.
But it's worth more now.
But now it's worth more. It's now up to 145,000.
To the solar developer.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. This item, while it's good to have them have their comments noted for the record, we do not have our project applicant here. We
understand.
are recommending this case be continued.
I just
until
wanted
6
I was confused about what she said about the value of the property. I just wanted to understand what they were saying, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
both for
Thank
making
you.
the trip and for your
Okay.
comments.
Thank you.
Chairman, if I may,
Yes, sir, Mr. Hall.
when this item comes back on March 5th, the applicant will be here. And while we've taken some comment today, and the applicant can view that comment by video, the applicant isn't able to really respond, and vice versa. There might be issues at the presentation that you guys want to know about. So I would strongly suggest not to just rely on today. You should come back
Wait.
and make your comments then also.
No, we just
Okay.
want to inform how will it affect if that happens.
Thank
That's how we see it.
Okay,
Thank
so
you, Mr.
just to understand that, there's a limited ability, well, we can take comments, there's a limited ability for those comments to really work their way into the process.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall. With that, we will move on to adjournment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.